Just had a lot of. Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing tonight?
Hey there, hi there, ho there, out in spray wash land, right?
The yes, sir. Yeah, I posted this in a
Ray,
bunch.
how's the store going anyhow? Haven't talked to you
Store is
about that in a
going
bit.
good. It's a totally different world, and I got to be
Yeah.
honest. In a lot of ways, I miss washing. I miss it terribly, and still get my hands in it, enough to be there. I love being able to sit here and help people and talk to people every day. That,
Mhm.
that makes it, that makes it nice. Um, at some point, so you're sitting here and the talking, and people get your number from online, and I had a gentleman the other day call me, and I mean, I honestly thought I was being punked, but he couldn't understand, why he this roof wasn't coming clean, and he had put in a car foamer and poured Clorox into a car foamer and shot it through a pressure washer at a roof.
Oh, and
Not
that's supposed to
10%,
clean
not
it.
12%, and I mean, and he said, well, I saw it on YouTube, but I was like, you need to go find that YouTube channel and literally get rid of it,
Delete it, get off
remove
of
it
it.
from
Yeah.
your history and dump it, because that's horrible information. I mean, first off, you've got a pressure washer on a roof. Second off, that's not going to be a strong enough, you know, just awful
No,
advice.
there's no way to hit. There's no way to hit it there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so you have things like that are a little bit on the annoying side, I'd say. um you feel like you give a lot of information out that it would be nice if there was a common level that everybody had, but there is no common denominator. There's no common level in this industry that people get. You can literally tell what channels some people have been listening to.
Yep.
You can tell who they've been, who they're
Who they
taking
bought
their
equipment
review
from?
from, just by the questions they're asking you. And
Yeah.
you might even say, "Ooh, you may want to be a little careful, because there's a lot of people that are saying something, but they haven't actually done what they say they've done production wise."
Hmm. Yeah. It does get old sometimes, and it gets challenging to hold your tongue sometimes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I mean, at some point you want to kind of just scream and say, if you want to take the class, come on in. We'll do the class for you. But I
Mhm.
can't literally tell you how to start a business, clean a house, clean a roof, market yourself, run crews, and everything, over this phone. And whenever I have customers, sitting here in front of me, but I do
Mhm.
love Happy Birthday Week,
Yeah,
Michael.
I see that.
Tommy's in the house, and Bobby.
Robbie's in the house.
Yeah, Big Rob, Wild West, Henry,
Mr. Henry.
um, liking your advertising on Facebook. So, well, welcome. And I know we'll have probably a lot more guys out here. Doug and I just kind of, I had something really amazing happen. I did a short video on it, and of course, I brought Doug into the fold, since anything we teach, I like us to do together, and Doug has just amazing ideas. So I've referred his name to the attorney as well, so he'll be brought in this, hopefully with the attorney. Um, but for the backstory, for the guys that not who didn't hear, I was contacted about 6 days ago, and I'm now an expert witness, a standard of care expert for an attorney who is not one but two separate cases. One was a total loss. The other case was several $100,000, and I believe it happened in a row of townhouses. So there were multiple structures that were damaged on this. And guys, literally, the fire expert that they came in, they linked it back to the outlets that
Washer.
were affected. The fire, forensic fire investigators can do that. One fire happened while the pressure washer was there. The other fire happened while the pressure washer had left 30 minutes before. And I'm talking to this attorney, and so we're, some of the stuff that we're saying is, he goes, I thought it was strange because I've had, one or two of these before in my life, but it's so strange to have two. I said, I think you ought to look for more. I really think you'll see a lot more coming up in the world because of what we see going on in this industry right now. That there's a push for uneducated people. There's a push for everything. I see this at least once a day in some of the groups that I notice. And I don't talk in a lot of the groups, but I'll scroll through them. You can learn everything you need to know on the internet.
And we seem to have this conversation a lot, and that's because it's a continual thing. It doesn't stop. It's just a lot of what's being spewed out there, and this is where it's going to come back and start biting people. And those guys that are not they're talking about, we don't do any protection.
Yeah,
this is what's going to come back. This is where and when it's going to come back and bite you.
Yeah, it will. And when Doug and I first run, and we're in full disclosure, we have a class called Plant and Property Protection, and it was the first of its kind in the industry. And it's, the online version of it, 6 hours of education.
Over 6 hours.
And everything in there and it's always updated whenever we get more info on it. But don't take the class. I don't care if this isn't about that. We want you to keep yourself safe. We want you to keep property safe. We don't want the name of pressure washers, the industry disparaged and problems caused.
I was going to say, I mean, you're saying you don't care. The whole purpose of this is to say we don't care if you buy the class, but I actually do care if you buy the class.
I do care. I mean, yeah.
We want educated washers out there, because otherwise it's going to end up being the same thing the pressure washing industry became, right? The pressure washing industry got such a bad rap because there's so much damage caused by pressure washing. Yeah. And we don't want soft washing to turn into that same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, actually, probably just as much, damage caused by the soft washing too. I'd really link, the thing together. In my initial call with that attorney, he said, so let me understand this, what is the standard of care? And this attorney, found us from us writing the class. And for those of you who don't know the history of the class, this class was written specifically for the huge convention. Thad Eckhoff came to Doug and I and said, Ray, I want you to write something incredible. I want you to do, we want to not move away. We want to add something to the 1 hour or the 50-minute sessions. And, here's a room. Y'all do a pre-show on this. I want you to write just an absolutely amazing top next level type class regarding, industry issues. And I think
I believe that we absolutely crushed that and nailed it out the park. There's no other class out there that's anywhere near. They're all an hour, and I mean, over 6.5 hours of good content, good, not repeating content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Henry nailed it right here. Guys who argue it's quicker to replace than tape also don't seem to mind when their customers become mine next year. And I will mention, I'll just toss this out here, and it's one of the things that we talk about in class is how a GFI works. And if you don't understand how a GFI works, you should know this as an expert who's applying water to a house. When we first wrote this class, we actually got pushback from guys who said, I've never had a problem with this in all these years.
Never fried an outlet.
The big question, but even on the frying, never even tripped a GFI.
Right.
The question is, until we started using electric booster pumps and plugging into the customer's power, how did you know? How many of us are going around with testers to see if the electric is working beforehand, or if it's not working, whenever we're done? And obviously, that some of the problems you get into there is, you trip a GFI. What if it's plugged also into the freezer in the garage? What if it's you trip it and then other stuff is downstream from that GFI? What happens, when people aren't going into their beer fridges and their freezers where they're keeping their elk steaks every day? What if the people go in there 2 weeks later and it's tripped? I mean, everything in that freezer is trashed.
And
Um,
and it's a lot of deer meat. Ask me how I know.
yeah, it's true. It's true. And I've heard those stories over and over and over again. But until I think we started using electric booster pumps and saying, "Hey, plug into the customer's power," I don't think a lot of guys realized that we were actually tripping stuff. And you can do that from just as easily soft washing or pressure washing on here. One of the things that the attorney mentioned to me, he said, "So, am I to understand that you guys are applying a saline solution?" I said, "Well, yeah, we're applying a bleach and water mixture, and it's salt water essentially." And he goes, "And isn't that more conductive than regular?" I said, "Yes, it is." And then we also talked about the soap. Soap makes water wetter. Soap with water in there, a house mix that has a soap is going to get into nooks, crannies, and crevices that regular water will not get into. And it doesn't even have to have the bleach added. If it's just water and soap, it's going to get into places that regular stuff may not get into.
It's still going to penetrate, and that's the thing that a lot of people I don't think understood. And this is something that I think we definitely learned over time, where just like you're saying, for us, we started using the boosters by plugging into the house, and that's how we actually learned that, hey, people are actually tripping GFIs.
Yeah.
And then the more people that would as the boosters became more prevalent, more people would be saying, "Yeah, I keep tripping GFIs. I keep tripping GFIs." And it's because they're getting water behind there where they never realized they were doing that before.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Todd, how are you, sir? Welcome, estate. I'm always curious what Ryan says. Plugged in my electric Sunjo with my uncle's old extension cord, got the roof, washed singles, cords got wet, started a fire on the siding. Client's mad now, told her to eat a Snickers. Am I ever going to get my Sunjo back? Probably not. Probably not. You're a mess, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
But it's true though, but this is the level of what's happening out there with guys going and getting the little sniglets on YouTube and getting a 5-minute thing here. And the other thing that Doug and I were talking about, what you're seeing now is just all about speed, speed, speed. And so many of these guys that are telling you to go fast, wash fast. Oh man, you can make $400 an hour because you're doing 2 jobs an hour. You're spraying this Comet pump out here and don't mind the porch light flickering and stuff. And we want you to work fast. A lot of the guys that are telling you to work fast are actually trying to sell you something to make you work fast. And just think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. They're trying to sell you something to make you work fast. Oh, you can get so many houses done with this skin.
There's generally ulterior motives, in cases like that. And look, we all know that Ray now owns a power wash store and he sells stuff, right? But he's never pushing that you should do this or you should do that. That's not the case. You never see that. You never saw it before. And so keep that in mind with whatever it is. And it's not just in the wash industry. It's in anything you do. Look at, stuff on TV. They're trying to push stuff to you to sell you something, right? This is the best way to do this. And here, I just happen to have it. Hey, look at that. Amazing, right? No, it's not amazing. It's
right.
Kanye.
And God knows, you don't want to sit there and take 6 hours on a 3-hour job. You're losing money. You're leaving money on the table there. But you want to work efficiently, but you don't want to compromise your safety or the safety of the building or your customer by working too fast, by trying to get too much in, because not only will the quality of your work be compromised, but very possibly the quality of the building, the job could be compromised. The property itself could be compromised. There's always, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, Ryan Steakhouse or Golden Corral, Ruth's Chris, they both sell meat. Um, $300, $14.99. And you choose, which one you want to, and they both have customers, and that's kind of it.
Big Rob is taking stuff from Ryan, I think. I had to throw that out there. Yeah,
That's funny. I like that. Hey, Flip, hope you and Shar are doing well. Ryan, you 100% cannot learn everything you need to know on the internet. You're
you
absolutely.
can't learn 100% of everything you need to know ever. That will never happen.
You're always learning. You're always going to get curveballs. You're always going to get, little different scenarios thrown at you.
Just when you learn something, things change. Paint. That's the thing right now. The low VOC, the organic pigment paints. I mean, everything is changing. So what you knew before may not necessarily apply every single time and at every single job.
Yeah. I mean, I seriously wonder if I'm sitting here reading some of the comments, and I don't mean to lampoon Heath. I mean, I don't know Heath at all. I know he's the word on everybody's mouths these days, but but I know he's about, getting it fast and getting in, and now buy the skids and things like this about how fast you can work on there. Haven't seen a lot, and I bought the book. I haven't seen a lot on plant property protection in there or taking care of things. But yeah, I want to follow up on that thing with this comment and look at the rates for insurance rates for power washing.
Going up.
Is part of what we're seeing, and is the mass cancellations that, I guess what was with Liberty that Joe Walters was writing through,
right?
Is part of that through, and I have not spoken to that, but has people been seeing more and more damages out there? Because I know we don't get the whole story on these Facebook and YouTube forums, and very few people are ever coming out there going, hey, burn a house down today. What do I do now?
Yeah. We are starting to see, I think, more posts about stuff like that, because I think before too, it was, I want to say taboo, and it still kind of is, to say, hey, I caused this damage, but more and more people are starting to stand up and say, hey, I actually did this, or was this my fault? I'm being blamed for this, but, is this my fault? And then when you look at it, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't.
And eventually, so, I don't understand why these comments seem like they're getting yeah, that does. My business increased 11% this year just because other new washers were actually asked to leave properties. Yes, asked to leave, not my words, the client's words. Todd, I've seen that as well before. I mean, I've personally experienced guys telling me that, that have been like on your end where they got other jobs because I know we've gotten jobs where the guy was fired, lack of a better term, and then I've had guys fussing at me, not fussing at me, but calling me up recently going, well, God, what did I, do they owe me money? No, they don't. If the customer is that dissatisfied with your service and they run you off mid job or mid prep.
Yeah. You'll be lucky if you don't owe them money. Yeah. One of my favorite stories is a condo complex that we did. And, we went in, we put in the bid for it and all that. And, I had actually lost the bid, and I've told the story before, but they had hired the lowest company. It come to find out that they had gotten 7 bids and they took the cheapest. The guy literally came in with the red tip, started on the first one, and just cut the siding. So what they did was they immediately fired him, skipped over all the other bids, and went to us, which was the most expensive bid. So people get fired from jobs, and there's no way that guy can collect anything. As a matter of fact, I'm sure ended up paying them something because he damaged their property. And that's one of the things where we do have, I believe, a standard of care that we need to have. And when you look at things like using the wrong tips or the wrong, we often say, don't pressure wash a roof, right? Okay. That's the wrong way to go about cleaning a roof. Using high pressure on a roof, just a bad idea. Okay, so standard of care, right? What tips are you using? What are you using? Are you spraying 100% SH on the roof? I mean, does it work? Sure, it works. Is it the right thing to do at that given point in time? All those different factors. And so the next thing that we see is everybody just says, "Well, I've got a disclaimer that says I'm not in trouble if if something happens. Well,
I keep hearing that, oh, if you join such and such group, let me see your disclaimers on there. And realistically speaking, you cannot disclaim away negligence. I mean, it's, there was an old joke about, old comedians like, yeah, I carried my sports jacket to the, most of you young guys won't even realize that. I carried my sports coat to the cleaners, and I said, hey, can you get this stain out there? And he's like, yeah, I can get it out, but the patches are going to come off the sleeves. See, sports coats used to have patches on the, never mind. He's like, yeah, I can clean it, but the patches will fall off the sleeve. And the customer's like, okay, yeah, great. Why don't you wrap in the pocket too? Thanks. And comes in a week later, gets the sports coat back, and sleeves were gone and the cleaner had crapped in the pocket. So I know it was an awful joke, and I have no idea why I even thought of it. But you can't sit there and say, oh yeah, we're not responsible for that GFI. We're not responsible for that electrical outlet out there because it's outside and it should be waterproof.
It wasn't up to code.
Yeah, it wasn't up to code. Well, you know what? Your insurance company isn't going to think that. And then the customer's insurance company that sues your insurance company most importantly, isn't going to sue that. Second off, if you burn somebody's house down, and God forbid there's an injury or loss of life on there, you will never, ever, ever get over that unless you're an absolute psychopath of what you've created. We saw one in the academy where, what was it, 4:30 in the morning, Doug?
It was 5:30 in the morning. The washer had done his job and left. And I want to say that he left like before evening time. So I want to say he left before, let's just say 6 or let's argue 7 o'clock in the evening, that this guy left the job site. The fire did not start until 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And this is something that was verified by the firefighters on site, all that. They figured out exactly where it came from. We have it in the plant and property protection class. It's a real thing. That happened, I mean, I'm going to say 10 hours later.
Right.
Because water is traveling, right? And it might get hung up on something and then all of a sudden drips down and goes somewhere. I'm going to say that that's extreme. That's not going to be the norm. But nonetheless, this one that he's talking about, the fire started a half an hour after the washer had left. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the washer doesn't just spray and then leave, and then a half an hour later, okay, you got to do your wash. Yeah, maybe you do a little cleanup stuff, and then you got to pack up your truck, and then you got to leave. So minimum, if that was the very last thing he sprayed, minimum of a half hour, 45 minutes before you even pack up your truck and go, probably. So that means it's at least, I think, bare minimum an hour after he had actually sprayed that area that the fire catches.
Yeah, I mean, and you could spark them immediately. You could also spark them, like I said, an hour, 12 hours afterwards. There's a wide range. And you have to understand, and this is going to kind of go in here to what Tommy's talking about. A lot of the GFCIs are faulty now. Tape everything, 100%. And if you don't understand how a GFCI works, you need to understand how a GFCI works.
I posted a link. If you go through the comments there, I posted a link to a YouTube video I had done about GFIs. Yep. And it is important to know and understand how a GFI works, because a lot of people have that misconception that once it trips, there's no power there anymore.
And for those guys who don't go and do that, let's say that this is a GFCI outlet right here. Let's say my mouse is one. Now, this way is going to be power from the house. This is going to be all the stuff that goes to the other GFCI outlets, the other outlets that are protected, okay? So it trips, the little button pops out, click, I lose power to here, and I lose power all the way down here. Well, guess what? The feed line still going into this GFCI is hot. It's a hot line. You've got live wire still going into your GFCI. It doesn't mean that, oh, well, that's tripped and done. unless it trips at the breaker, or if it's one of the outlets that's further down the line here. This outlet might be dead because it's further down the line from the power source, but you still have hot power going into this GFCI, and it still could catch fire.
The whole purpose of the GFCI is the ground fault circuit interrupter is to interrupt the power to whatever you have plugged into the device. Okay. So if this is my plug-in and I'm plugging it in, it is providing power to this item that's being plugged in. Let's say it's a drill, it's whatever it is. Okay. It's a refrigerator. When I plug that in, if the GFI trips, it is breaking power to that item. Okay. So the power is still here, like he's saying, but it's not on the front side. So just because the GFI trips doesn't mean that there's no power. And I'm going to go one further. I've told this story before. We did a church at one time, and boom, we start getting the snap, crackle, pop, and we see the smoke coming out of the receptacle, right? So we hurry up, but we're trying to figure out, we can't find, now this is a church, it's got a lot of breakers and boxes and all this kind of stuff. And, it kind of quits sizzling. So we're trying to find out which breaker may have tripped, or if there's a GFI. Power was still there. We took the cover off. We took the receptacle out, which was a GFI by itself, right? Still has the power behind it. Take it out, and you know what? Okay, we can't find the breaker. Let's do it this way. With permission from the church itself, hey, let's arc that thing off, make it trip the breaker, and then that way when the electrician comes, he'll know which one it is that he has to deal with instead of trying to push those wires in. So I purposely arced that thing off, and guess what happened? Nothing. It still had power. Arced it off again. Guess what? Nothing. It still had power. That's very uncommon as well, but it happens, right?
Right.
So you can't count on the GFI, and you can't count on it cutting the power on the front side or the back side.
Yep.
You have to know that that's happened.
I have a very good friend of mine who is a handyman, carpenter, fix-all person, appropriately licensed, and his guys were hooking up. He just fried a $10,000 stove because they hooked up the 220 wrong on there, and it shot power up. They had reversed the legs on it somehow. Mistakes happen. Mistakes happen electrical wiring all the time. I still remember early on in the career, I don't even think Tanya was working with me yet, but I was washing this house, was plugged into the neighbor's power, had an extension cord, had one of the service body trucks with a booster on there. And it was summertime, I was hot. She brought me a glass of tea, just said, oh, I'm going to swing by and see you. I went and I was like, oh man, what a great break. I go and lean, I grab my tea, I put it on the service body, I lean up against it like this, and it immediately lit me up. That's when I realized the whole truck was electrified.
Yep.
Now, there was a breach in that in my extension cord somewhere, but it did not trip the GFCI, and it was plugged into right by the front door, and it was one that had a button on there. Also, and it caused, my truck was just, oh my God, I had to go get a stick and snatch the plug out of the wall. GFCI.
I can't tell you how many times the Cajun soft wash truck has been electrified.
Oh, but also GFCIs are one of those things that are meant to wear out. There'll be a point to where they either won't reset or they won't trip. They have a lifespan with them. They're not a permanent type fixture out there. And man, we've got so many, but let me get to this too. Big question, ceiling fan standard of care. Henry, that is a great question. And I'll bet you that a majority of the newer washers out there, a majority of the guys that are getting stuff done quick actually don't know how to discern between outdoor ceiling fan or all-weather ceiling fan and indoor ceiling fan.
And you know what? We covered them all. It didn't matter even if they were an exterior grade fixture, right?
Hunter,
we still covered them.
I guess the best, and I can't say we always did that, but I sure encourage the guys to, but it didn't always happen. But trash bags are your friend, and if you can at least cover the motor housing part of it, because that's the problem that you're going to get into is the motor housing on there. But so many of these. Okay.
I'm going to say one other thing about that, though, Ray. And one of the things we learned again the hard way is that especially with these newer ceiling fans, whether they're interior or exterior grade doesn't necessarily matter. But even the blades, because the blades are now made with like they're not wood. They've got a like a coating over the top of them that makes them look like wood.
Right.
That's damaged by bleach a lot of times. So
The press
we
board.
started
Yeah.
finding that we'd spray, and even though the motor was covered, we want the blades to come clean and all that, and we started having problems with those as well.
And that's where big black trash bags, those big black,
Absolutely.
65-gallon contractor trash bags are your best friend. And if that, or the cheap $6.99 for 4 rollout painter drop cloths, the half mil drop cloths, those things are really your friend.
Absolutely. And
Floodlights.
remember, even if you take the big black bag and you're able to get it all the way up over it and you taped it off and all that, still put a hole in the bottom, because if you do get water in again, you don't want to trap that water in. You want it to have an exit point.
Anthony is asking about floodlight standard of care. Floodlights, if you can wrap them, wrap them. I mean, I know it's tough to sometimes get up there to the second floor and wrap the things, or third floor. If that's the case, I'm hitting them really fast. Or if it's not even that dirty over there, I'm going to skip them, entirely if I can. On the first floor, that's why I like the Walmart bag, the Publix bag. Just stick it up there. Just do a quick tie off on it. But here's one of the problems that I see with floodlights a lot. And here's where a disclaimer could probably help you, but it's going to cost you money to ever prove your disclaimer. But we probably had more problems with floodlights over our past year or so at Spray Wash than any other time. And it was people taking their old floodlights and then transferring those to LED floodlights. And what would happen is the homeowners would do the installation themselves, and they would not put the cover over correctly. They would not, or they.
And it actually becomes like a bowl up there. So when you spray, it's actually like a bowl up there that's holding all that liquid in, and you've got to look at that and pay attention to that.
You're spraying up there on the vented soffit, and it runs over, it gets held in the cup like that. That can be a problem. Obviously, improper installation on there. The good news is floodlights aren't necessarily all that expensive. And we've eaten a few of them and, said, well, you know what, we want to maintain this relationship with you as a customer. And I had one guy, he was actually a builder, and he said, look, he goes, it's not a big deal. He said, I got like $300 for floodlights that aren't working. And so I went over there and looked at it with him, and I said, who installed these? And he kind of like held his eyes down and said, well, me. And I said, well, what happened to the plates? Well, yeah, I didn't really, think it was ever going to be an issue on there, which it probably isn't going to be an issue until you get your house pressure washed and water goes up into the soffit and drops back down on it,
One of the things that you can think about, you can take like if you have an extension pole, right? Your little fiberglass 18-foot extension pole. You take that pole and you get a large plastic bowl, right? And you fix that to the bowl, and you can lift that up and hold it up over the fixture while you spray around it. One of the things that we like to do is stand directly under whatever fixture it is, and you spray in kind of a pattern that you're always spraying away from whatever fixture that is. That helps prevent that water from going in. Now, sometimes you get, the light fixture will actually pull down. And so even though everything was level to begin with, now that fixture is pulling down, it creates that liquid wanting to go inside of it. These are all things that you have to pay attention to and talk to your technicians about as they're spraying or as you're spraying.
Michael, I missed an outlet on a soffit behind hurricane shutters. Jolted pretty good. Yep. Because those things are metal and they're just very conductive. Also, neon lights with their ballast, both neon and fluorescent lights. And I've done so many gas stations and the old school that work the waterproof, things, and trying to work around those things. And you actually get some water at the end of one of those old fluorescent light tubes, and you see the metal light, the metal itself starts glowing and it gets the little fire crackles going through it. It's scary.
It's kind of cool though. It looks neat.
Yeah. Yeah. When things are free, you are the product. Absolutely, Wild West. That's true. Hey, Pink. Um, you can't be the cheapest and be the best. Yeah. And Tommy is sitting here, protect everything, including your butt. And
And
that's
start
probably
with pictures.
that's probably the truest thing about the plant, or more so than even protecting the property. We're protecting our butt. It's just something that has to be done on here.
You know, I can't help, but every single day it seems like when we start looking at things, we see where, did you get pictures? No, 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 no. I mean, guys, how many times do we got to say it? It's the cheapest form of insurance you can possibly have. Get pictures, take extra pictures. I mean, it just, I would make it a habit when I'm doing the sales calls, take some pictures, right? Then when you start the job, take some pictures. That way you always have before pictures of even before you even got there that day, so you can't be accused of anything, right? Man, it's such a cheap and easy thing.
You know, and Ryan has
I was
such
hoping you'd bring this one up because
what's that? Yeah, he has such an amazing comment here. You never know who has previously serviced a property. Was the electrical license? Was the HVAC license? General contractor. When a client wants to save a buck, hires a hack under the table, you have to be vigilant and foresee any potential issues on pre-inspections on the property prior to work being performed. You never know what you're walking into. 1,000%, Ryan. Gosh, yes.
And the thing is, on every single property, I don't care how old it is, something has been jerry rigged. Doesn't matter. Brand new house. You had an electrician that was just, you know what? If I cut this one little corner here, right? Plumber, if I just cut this one little corner here, the carpenter, if I just cut that, there's always little things here and there that are just corner cutting. And everybody always thinks the same thing. This nobody's ever going to see it. Nobody's ever going to notice this. This is never going to be an issue until you come along and you're somebody they didn't think about during that process or cared about, even if they did think about it. It's not their problem once they leave.
Right. Well, it's kind of like, the architects. I mean, we sit there and how many buildings that have we been on, commercial properties and going, yeah, the guy that designed this honestly never gave two craps about maintenance or how they're going to clean it or how they're going to pressure wash it,
Yep.
And so Tommy's
Look at how many houses are coming out with Galvalume.
Yeah. Why these insurance rates are through the roof? Because the damage that others are doing. The good guy pays for the uneducated mistakes. Always do a pre-wash, walk around with plastic bags and duct tape. Yeah, it's not, Josh. It's not overkill to do it, and that kind of work that you do is noticed by the customer.
Absolutely. And the neighbors walking by. If you don't think that people notice that kind of stuff, you're wrong. I mean, I'm going to say this isn't completely true, but a lot of the guys that are spouting off that type of stuff probably don't have as successful as a business as the guys that are doing those things, or they're not capturing the price points. And some of that's not going to be whole true. There's always variables there, but they're also not capturing the price points. And they have to do it quick because they're not making as much money as you are if you're advertising it correctly.
Speed's a lot more important than whenever you're only $150, a house. I mean, and I know that there's Todd mentioned, there's somebody on here who Todd W has, told me, well, yeah, these and Jim Brown talked to the same guy and said, yeah, man, he talks this isn't the two people I mentioned, but somebody that builds rigs and used to wash. And, he was saying, man, we got $150 for that, but it only took us 30 minutes, which is a huge fallacy of saying something only took you 30 minutes, because you'll always have travel time. You'll always have this. You'll always have, nothing is ever, it should take you 30 minutes, honestly, to tape the place up or one technician while the other one's taking pictures and stretching out. You're always going to have these problems. SH is 8 times more conductive. Yeah.
And it really truly is one of those things where it's not a matter of if, but when. I mean, if you're in the industry long enough, if you spray enough houses, it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. Things are changing. This again, we've said this before. The soaps are getting better at doing what they're doing, right? And I know we've talked about it before, and people saying, well, I've been in this industry for 20 years. What did we talk about earlier, right? You may have been in it for 20 years and nothing has ever happened, but it's more likely that you didn't know something happened, or
You didn't
they
know
didn't
that
complain that something happened, but
right,
it did.
What Mitchell said. It started. I think he's talking about the fire that we had talked about. Started in the master bedroom, if he remembers correctly. Todd serviced home $1,275. Other business was $300, and client stated. And I think one of Todd's main competitors up there is a guy who's, let's go fast, fast, fast. And plant stains, swing, fried a TV on the lower deck. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how much this helped my business, how much I know that it helped your business, Doug, but say you're taking this extra care, the pointing out to the customers of what we're going to do. I might not be me doing it, but it's going to be one of my technicians doing it. The extra care that we're going to give you, it makes what would you rather do? Would you rather do 7 houses for $100, or would you rather do one house for $700?
Yep. Every single time.
It's real simple. I'm not using gas running around. I'm doing one setup, one pull out. I mean, and the money winds up being the same.
No, the money isn't the same. You don't have the extra time going back and forth. So you're not paying employees to do all that extra stuff. You don't have the gas back and forth. You're making more money staying in one place.
But it's and Tommy's agreeing at 25 to 30 minutes after the thing. And right, breakers rarely trip when that happens. And that's the problem, Mitchell. Whenever the fire occurs, it's because the breaker hasn't tripped. Exactly. Or it's like what Doug was talking about. It hasn't tripped. Tim and I were doing a hotel, and I still remember it very vividly because we were filming it. And this is a hotel that I had done 2 or 3 times before. And we had done some modifications to a booster pump, and we're so proud because we were able to get like 5 stories out of this booster pump. It was pretty damn cool. And underneath it, and Tim even said, "You're not going to take that out?" I said, "No, man." I said, "That's good. It's a clamshell. It was waterproof outlet. Ha ha." And my guy is Vasty is sitting there shooting, and literally on the camera, the in front of us, and those gaskets dry out on these clamshell fittings. Those they're if you look at the small print inside the clamshell fittings, it says use caulk. I've never seen an electrician use caulk. Also, they dry out over time. That foam rubber dries out. So what was once a weather-resistant outlet is now no longer weather-resistant.
Let's take that one further and think about how many times have you gone to a property and you see where whether it's a receptacle or it's a meter box or whatever it is, right? And then you've got the conduit that's coming up out of the ground, right? That conduit maybe runs over and feeds a shed or feeds a well pump or feeds something else, right? And so you've got the box sitting there and you've got the conduit right there. Everything is nice. It's watertight and all that, right? Then what happens? Well, life and earth movement happens and there's settlement, right? Now that has gotten moved and it's cracked. And now water can get into those areas. And it'll happen on top as well, where there will be something will settle or a tree branch has fallen and hit that conduit, and now it's moved and water can get through. So even though you've sprayed there 20 times before, never had a problem, now all of a sudden, boom, you've got a problem.
Right.
You still have to inspect, look, make sure everything is still good every single time, even though you've been doing the same contract for 20 years.
Wild West is I love the old Wash Pros truck has been hot more than once. You're supposed to jump and grab the cord at the same time. Great, I love the audience. You guys are amazing. This is Wild West. Always touch electric with the back of your hand so you don't, because electric will make you contract and grab hold of things. That's why they say that if you ever come across somebody getting electrocuted, you need to basically hit them with a wooden stick,
Don't grab them.
Try to grab them.
And video first, because
interesting. That ain't a bad idea right there, what Jeremy's saying. So a trash can, a big gray trash can lid, slit it, cut a hole in it. That is not a damn.
Somebody did that before, where they took and it goes over the top of, and then that way Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look that smart.
It's the yellow boots.
It's saran wrap on a stick would be good for saran wrap on a stick. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that we use on there. The roll of the saran wrap.
The thing about that is getting it back off.
Getting it back down. But yeah, you are going to be using the cheap plastic shower caps, small fixtures. Also for lights, Doug and I are real big fans of the tattoo covers that are basically a Tyvek material.
Yep.
Part of it also is when it comes to the floodlights is understanding what you're spraying around, and don't get all crazy, because most soffit, at least if it's vented soffit, it's got holes in it.
Yep.
Water's going, up in it. That's why, whenever we spray this stuff and we spray it too much, we're sitting there and just in
you're
brown
fighting the water, the brown water coming out forever.
Hours,
Absolutely.
Cheap shower caps, small appliances, cameras, and some outlets. They're great. One of the things that I strongly recommend now on the Ring cameras and anything that's wired, not hardwired in there, is go ahead and pop them off. Pop them off, number them where they belong to, put them on the hood of your truck or lay them in the seat. This one went on the northwest corner. This one went on the southeast corner. A lot of the Rings you can literally just lift up. If they're not tied in to the doorbell system, they're just rechargeable. Get them out of the way. You don't have to protect something that's not there.
That you just can readily remove.
And it's just one more thing. Whenever you do, hey, Mr. Homeowner, I want to adjust your cameras for you. Can you look? Because it's a Ring camera. They can literally see it from their phone. Well, why do you need to adjust my cameras? Well, because we removed them. Mm-hmm. Or before you remove them, you call them and say, hey, your Ring system may go offline because I'm going to be taking your cameras down. Your what? Well,
that should be part of your sales pitch, though, as well, to begin with. I mean, from the very beginning, you should be talking to them about, and when we're done, you will have to adjust your Ring doorbell cameras and such, because we're going to remove them, or we're going to cover them, we're going to protect them. That's all. That should be part of your sales pitch that sets you apart from the other people, right? Hey, Ray, I wanted one thing real quick, and that is we give away, and from now until the huge convention, we're going to be giving away at least 4 tickets every single Monday night show. If you're needing a ticket to the huge convention, send me an email to Doug@spraywashacademy.com, Doug@spraywashacademy.com. If you need a ticket to the huge convention, Doug@spraywashacademy.com. I'll get you hooked up.
Anthony, some of the ceiling fans that come across are not flush mounted chemicals able to roll down into that bowl 100%, and even taped and wrapped. So we try not to get within a foot of the base of it, and guys, don't be scared to get a rag with bleach on it and do that touch up detail work where you have it sprayed. I think that's one of the biggest fallacies of this industry, that everything is a spray on, spray off solution, because sometimes you got to just wipe the door frame off with a rag.
And that's why you charge accordingly, right? You price a job based on what it is that you have to do. And the more things I have to cover, right, I know that whatever I cover isn't getting cleaned, and I have to hand clean that particular area or that particular item. And so if I have to hand clean a whole bunch of stuff, guess what? The price just went up.
Yeah.
Okay? You need to adjust your pricing for those kinds of things.
And
I'll just answer your question. Yes, I'm talking about free tickets to the huge convention if you're wanting to go to the huge convention.
So here's some hello from Baton Rouge. So somebody red stick in your neck of the woods.
That's Ricky. That's going to be Amerigo Ricky, and yeah, he's here in the greater Baton Rouge area.
The he's 100% right here. And remember, one of the things that if you've ever attended the plant and property class, one of the things that we're so adamant about on the class is obviously covering your butt and covering the property and protecting it, but using this information that you've learned to go out and sell, using the information that, wow, Drive It says don't hit it at more than 600 PSI. Drive It says to cool it down beforehand. Oh, here's what TPO says. Here's what the manufacturer specs of Sherwin-Williams paint say. And using this to sell, because we consider it almost technical or scientific selling out there, and it kicks your game up a little bit. You're now a specialist. Who gets more money? The good old country doctor or the heart specialist? The heart specialist,
Absolutely.
You become the expert. Tommy's talking about Company Cam, and what a
all day, every day.
I love the Company Cam. If you're not familiar with it, look up Company Cam. Amazing photo. I don't want to call it photo software because it's so much more than that. But boy, it's good stuff.
It's such a great way to archive all of your photos, to share them with your customers, that kind of thing. It is a great platform to be able to do that, and you can alter images right there on site. You can take a picture of something, and you can say, then you can circle it and say, there was this issue, and here it is right here. You can circle it and show them, before you even start washing, you can say, I noticed that you've got a cracked window right here. Do you want us to still wash? Right. You can send it to them. They
may not even realize, a lot of times they haven't even given themselves up, because what if there's a cracked window out there that you see and you photograph and the property's dirty and it's real obvious? They didn't know there was a cracked window there. Yep. And then they're giving the house the once over. Hey, you cracked my window. Well, no, that was oh, really? Oh, yeah, it's there in your clean picture. Well, I didn't take before pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a problem. You can't go and retake it now.
On your before pictures, you always want to make sure if you're taking pictures of damage, right, that you didn't cause, it's there. Make sure that picture is close up showing the damage, but then is out further away showing that the damage is there and the house is still dirty or the area is still dirty, because otherwise they're saying, yeah, well, you damaged it and you took a picture of it. No,
I tell my guys to take photos, tell them to go straight paparazzi on it, 150 photos. That's not unreasonable. And I'll tell you something else, Rich. I have a very good friend of mine, and not trying to give away his secrets, but what he does is his technicians are required to send the office photographs of the plant and property protection they have done, and then the office gives them the okay to spray. So they go out there, spend the first half hour, 45 minutes taping up, wrapping up, and saying, okay, now they send the photographs in, and the office calls back and says, okay, this looks fine. You are allowed to proceed at this point.
Mm-hmm. And that's an awesome, we didn't do that, but I'm going to tell you what, and that is something that I could sell. I could sell that. I could sell that service. I mean, I can definitely sell that as part of what we do.
Jim Bob, we don't cause issues, but we're good at finding them. And it's a absolutely, Tommy. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint out there.
You can make a whole lot of money real quick in this industry. Let's not lie. You can make a whole lot of money really, really quick. You can also lose everything you own really just as quick. So, take your pick. Do you want to make a whole bunch of money today thinking that you might lose it tomorrow? Or do you want to build a good structured business that's going to pay you for the life of your, however long you want to have it?
Yeah, there are a lot of fake Kardashians with fake pressure washing business stories out there. I know there are. Mm-hmm. I've seen it. I've talked to the it's really disturbing. As new guys enter the business, we have so many great comments tonight. They don't learn how to properly execute jobs. The insurance district is going to get so bad, the agency of brokers aren't going to cover the new business unless they're trained, certified in some way or form. Joining or getting trained, certified is going to inevitably be the Noah's Ark that saves your business from being booted off appropriate insurance coverage you need to operate. 100%, Ryan. And the other problem is we need to fix it ourselves before somebody else steps in there and fixes it for us.
For us, exactly.
And that's what could wind up happening in the route. Because what has the government ever actually fixed on its own? Ask an Indian how good the government is about fixing stuff. They'll probably tell you, "Hey, great reservation, you like it." But that's what's going to happen and what will happen is small companies that won't be able to meet the burdensome standards will get run out of business. You'll have clandestine companies operating out there, and then you'll have other companies that the larger companies will be who's left out there. It's really incumbent upon us. I know I've been kicked out of more forums than I like to admit because I guess I've just gotten crotchety in my old age, but I call out the bull crap that I see. Yeah, you should have taped that. Yeah, why are you working so fast? Yeah, you should have charged more to cover that, and people don't like hearing that. But
calling it out, saying it is your fault. You made a mistake.
Yeah, it is your fault. People hate seeing that, Now, could it have been your fault even though you did everything in the world you could have? Yeah, it can't. I know that I know. I was talking to Chris Kinsey the other day. And I don't think Chris would mind me using this, but he had a very nice house. It was like $1.5 million, $1.6 million house on the waterfront in Maryland. It was the lady's
own house.
Do you remember the story?
Yep.
And she said she came out after, and he said it was a nice place. She came out after an hour of him being there and said, I haven't heard a machine crank up, and how long is this going to take? And he's like, ma'am, I've been taping, and he showed her, and it got, red tape all over it again. It's on the waterfront. There's outdoor entertaining spaces. He has taped the crap out of it. Well, sure enough, it winds up.
Snap, crackle, pop.
He snap, crackle, pop. Winds up, and he's like, man, we need to call the fire department out here. This is just something. I don't think it was on. I don't think it was involved, actually flame shooting out of it.
Right.
But he knew that it was her second home. She wasn't going to be there. And just out of an abundance of caution, called the fire department out there. Fire department came and actually found the source of it. And the source was like on a breach to a second floor up, where it got down behind this and got into the box, actually behind siding. So the taping didn't matter at all right there. Was not his issue whatsoever. And he said that, the fire chief that was there, he looked at this lady and he was like, I really didn't want to call the emergency. They're like, they didn't have a non-emergency number. They're like, look, I just want you guys to come by and check it out. They came in, lights and sirens, everything. But he said the fire chief that was there told the lady, he's like, I tell you what, I have never seen a house this well taken care of by a pressure washer. And when I get my house washed, I'm calling that man right there. He didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I've never seen a tape job this good on a house. Most of these guys don't ever do anything. So it really covered his butt right there.
So a couple points on that too. Think about this. How many times have you gone to clean a brick house and you've seen cracks in the mortar joints, or you've seen a brick that is completely cracked and moisture can get through there? Okay. Many times. We have a church that we worked on all the time, and they had a problem with water intrusion. Every single time it rained, water would get inside the church because the brick was getting so much, had so many cracks in it that the water was getting inside. Okay. You can't tape that off. You can't protect enough.
Right.
And even though you've done everything you can to protect that particular receptacle right there, the water gets in 2 stories up and it works its way behind there. And boom, guess what happens?
Yeah.
7, 8, 10 hours later, you have a fire.
I destroyed an alarm system, a fire alarm system. One of my few insurance claims I ever had. I destroyed a first floor alarm system. And we were working in the third floor. We were working on the third floor breezeways on there. It happened. Answer this question about the Lexel for Jonathan. But yes, it's something that we do a lot.
So Jonathan is saying, something I've thought about doing before starting a house wash is to go around with a cold gun and some good caulking and seal up all of the gaps and cracks around anything electrical. Has anyone done this? And if so, how are your results? So yes, actually, it's something we teach in the plant and property protection class. Lexel, I believe that's Lexel, is a clear product. And once you put it on, you can spray right after that. So you go around, you can seal things up, and you can start spraying, right after that. It will still hold up. So it really is a good idea for those ones that are, where you've got decent gaps there, right? So you can go ahead and seal that up. But I still encourage you to put something, a cover over the entire thing. Sometimes you get a good clamshell. You know that is a water resistant receptacle, but behind it, where it meets the wall, that's where your problem is, right? Or if they've doubled it up, okay? So sometimes even that you can still Lexel it, and that will greatly help. But I still recommend covering the receptacle anyhow.
Justin brought up something really funny, but you're absolutely right. Well, Wes, be patient and calm. And for those of you guys that don't understand that story about the young bull and the old bull, it's true. Mm-hmm. Justin made a great comment here. He was busting chops on the booster pumps, but 100%, and think about this. Weed whackers and landscapers. How many times have we seen cracked conduit around things where the weed whackers got in there? Now all of a sudden you're washing something, you're spraying bleach, soap, and water into an exposed pipe with
you're spraying a highly conductive liquid into an electrical area. I mean, something's going to happen eventually.
There's Jim Bob talking about the Lexel, Yeah, 100%. And it's good stuff. I mean, it'll stay sticky and pliable, but it becomes instantly waterproof.
It is. And it comes in a really small tube that's easy to work with. And so, you can have several of them. You can stick it in your pocket as you're walking around. It's not like you have to carry around a caulking gun. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's a tube. You pull it out. It's like a toothpaste tube, an oversized toothpaste tube. And you just roll it up and you squeeze around and you're good to go.
What about charging your soft wash system while washing? Is that safe?
Absolutely. I say absolutely.
I don't know but I mean, it's safe to have stuff plugged in. I mean, we used to do that with the booster pumps. When we ran the booster pumps from customers' power, we would literally plug it in and put half a roll of tape over it. So
if you've protected things correctly, you shouldn't have a problem. That's where I really like the arm protectors, the tattoo arm covers, because they have a hole and they have elastic bands on each side. So I could take my power cord, reach through that thing, pull my power cord through, plug it in, put it over the top of the receptacle, tape everything up. Now I've got plastic covering the entire foot of that cord that's plugged in. Man, it worked awesome.
Waiting on and actually, so Jeremy is saying that, or Justin saying that it was Jeremy's dogs actually that has the good ideas.
Yeah.
Saran
wrap wear yellow boots too.
Was it? Manual ran an outlet tester for GFI, then tape all around. Considering having a caulk gun to fill out those gaps, we'll look up the Lexel at Home Depot or Lowe's.
It'll save you a ton of time and effort.
In the GFI testers, I used to get so aggravated at the employees on there, and they would sit there and go plug up and then tape everything off and then say, all right, hit the booster pump.
And no power.
No power. And I was like, did you test it before? Well, no. It's like, well, we can do another bong rip.
For a tester, man.
Do another bong rip is all I can tell you. Well, we always kept the testers in there for that specific reason. Oh, we're going to plug into this one right here, and plug it up. But that's a great idea to, if you want to go that extra level of service, go around to each outlet, on the house and say, okay, this one's tripped. You don't want to get blamed for tripping something or something, going out. So,
and for those guys that say, we always ask the homeowner to trip the breaker. Okay. You can do that yourself with the GFI button. If it's GFI protected, the tester, you plug it in, you push the button. It's meant to test that GFI, but you got to remember that doesn't do squat. right?
Yeah.
If you still don't
Still
protect them,
hot.
all
Going
you're doing is shutting
right.
off the power to whatever you've plugged into it. The power is still behind there.
Yeah. Jamie, and I like the condoms over the cameras to keep them dry. That's actually not a bad idea. I would assume
Yeah.
unlubricated though. Not a fan of the gas pumps. When soaping, less is better. 100%, Jamie. And that's been this big push this year of people saying, "No, bigger, 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 more, more, more. 10 gallons, 15 gallons. Let's get." And guys, when y'all are applying bleach, bigger is not always better out there, guys.
And just because something's faster certainly does not make it better every single time.
Rubber gloves. No, Justin's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
100%. Rubber gloves. Those orange tiger grip gloves. 100%.
Shower caps, poop bags, doggy poop bags, all those kinds of things help and work. And you can get them super cheap.
Doug, what did you say about the huge? Rob missed it.
Big Rob, I said you won a ticket to the huge convention. Shoot me an email, Doug@spraywashacademy.com. Doug@spraywashacademy.com.
Yep.
That's what I said.
100%. Pre-wetting a part of your wash process. It'll save you more times than not. You won't even realize it. Mm-hmm. Picture saved my hide more than a few times.
I'm telling you, I know we say it, and I hound it every single time. But if you're, this will be the politically correct Dougie Doo speaking to you. I'm gonna give it to you politically correct. You're a dumbass if you don't tape stuff up.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, if you don't take pictures. That's what I meant to say. Well, I feel that way on both. Yeah, I'm pretty much that way on both. But if you don't take pictures, you are truly a dumbass. You really
like what Sean says. Your estimate should clearly explain all the steps to protect their property, so they realize they're not really comparing apples to apples with other estimates.
Absolutely,
100%.
Everything you do, you should be showcasing in your sales process, right? Even if look, I know a lot of guys don't do the in-person estimates anymore, and that's okay. If you're gonna, I think it's better to do in person. But if you're not, still create a portfolio of different things that you do that you send to them. Right? That's something that should be done anyhow. And you send them a pre-wash or a pre-estimate package that shows this is what we do. Why not?
Yeah.
You only got to create it one time, and then you just forward it every single time.
100%, I'm pulling this up. One of the things that I showed this to the company that purchased ours, and they were like, wow, that's a really good freaking idea. And we need to have this, for all of our stuff as well. Cause we did have a few decent ideas, but and I'm trying to zoom in on this, Doug, but let me share the screen here. Share screen. It's easiest with two monitors. Share screen. Yeah, it's this one. And let's kick us over to here on the side. Share might take me just a minute. So right here, why is this not? Doug, let me know if you see the document whenever I do this. Can you see the document?
I see the document. Yeah.
Okay. So best management practices addendum.
I'm gonna get rid of us for just a second. Keep going. Okay. Keep talking.
So, and this is something that we would use, and this is available over in the document library at Spray Wash Pro. And we would change this document, as needed. But cleaning solution, we talked about that. Landscaping. What we're doing, trash detail, storm drains, secondary containment, water reclaim if needed, final rinse that we're going to be using a bleach destroying detergent such as Agent Halt, pedestrian control, gum removal, calcium, efflorescent staining, rust stains, lifts, cranes, MSDS sheets, workers' compensation insurance, general liability and vehicular insurances. I mean, we're talking about all of this, up front, literally at the estimate. Um,
and I'm going to encourage you. The only difference I would say in today's day and age really is going to be to maybe actually have them acknowledge that they've read that, right?
Yeah.
That's where I think a lot of the problems are going to come up. Again, we've already had attorneys on here. We're not giving you legal advice, all that kind of stuff. But we've had attorneys on here that have said, look, if you click on a button, you go and you buy a phone from AT&T, they make you go through all this stuff. It's 50,000 pages, and then you got to click acknowledging that you've read that.
Right.
Even though everybody knows you don't read it, it still acknowledges that you've read it. And although, like for us, it might be a little bit different. We can't say, well, if we cause a fire, we're not responsible. But then it turns out that we were responsible. We can't disclaim away liability, but we can protect ourselves by doing things like that. And that you were warned that this could happen, and it could end up helping you in a court scenario.
I can't figure out where Seamus is. Jonathan Woodward. Yes, we do that here, but I've lost Jonathan's. I think you're talking about the Lexel is what Seamus is talking about, the caulking thing. I got lost there. Wish Tallahassee was full of idiots. Shame on me for educating. Let's see here. And this is Michael Ovens and insurance companies are great at legislating standards in industry they've never had any experience in. They have their own lobbyists. Much like Ryan's comment here, OSHA, and Ryan's just bringing the fire tonight. OSHA, EPA, DOT, local code compliance are going to step in and regulate us as our industry grows. Give it a few deaths, physical harm claims, and the spotlight will exploit all the flaws in our industry and hurt a lot of businesses' bottom lines. These agencies don't care about your feelings, legacy, and aim to profit on your ignorance and get bigger, which leads to more enforcement officers and nonsense. That's why you join the org, get trained, learn the rules. No one cares about the guardrails, 100%. And, something else on there, and I pulled this up tonight, PWNA literally has a free guide out there about safe practices. Now, in a lot of ways, it doesn't get into taping and it doesn't get into GFIs and things. And in many ways, it's mirroring the OSHA safety requirements, talking, about what kind of ladders you should be using, what's the operational condition of your ladders, heat hazards, noise hazards out there. Do you need guards on your you need guards on your equipment. I remember, one guy, this guy wanted to I literally called him out because on his little S10, he had a meat grinder where you literally opened up into the back of the S10 and there is a pressure washer there, a belt drive pressure washer with no guard on it. And I said, look, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you need a guard. And his response was, oh, well, my employees are smart enough to not stick their hands in it. It's why they call it an accident. I got into a debate with this guy about 2 years ago. It was like I was coming in from a night shift. He's like, no, I want to see deeds to property you own because I don't think you're not really who you say you are. And I'm like going to my office showing him, well, there's 4 service trucks right here. Honestly, if you can't see the signs that we were a really successful company, then you're just an idiot, and I can't, I'm sorry your mom died and left you a lot of money to buy a box truck with, and you have some properties. I won't be fortunate with a wealthy family like that, but don't sit there and say, oh, you're not who you say you are because you can't show me a deed to a property. You're an idiot. And if you don't think OSHA's for real and you don't give any more of a shit about one of your employees losing an arm than that, you have no need to be
especially
in
for
this
something
industry.
that's
Take your $99 signed box truck self and go pound sand. Somebody else
tell us how you really feel, Ray.
And I still see this guy posting out there. It's kind of crazy. Yep. Oh yeah, and Anthony, see, this is something where I've totally changed my mind on. I used to
Absolutely.
go and fix outlets 5 years ago. Oh,
Never.
we'll bring somebody over there. This is where you use plant and property protection and working relationships. Have a couple of electricians you can call on. Have a couple of plumbers you can call on. You know what? At some point in this industry, you're going to break somebody's spigot. If
Yep.
you tie up to enough spigots,
You're gonna pop
you're
one.
going to break somebody's spigot off, you know?
I'm going to tell you what, this is something I've always advocated as well, Anthony. And that is, I mean, I am, I'm going to say I'm very qualified to install an electrical receptacle. How's that? I can do it pretty much with my eyes closed, right? Okay. There's not that much to it, but you have to understand some things. Okay. And at that, I would never, ever, ever install a receptacle in somebody's home because number one, I'm not a licensed electrician. Okay. So anything goes wrong, my fault, your fault, nobody's fault. Let's say that I put it on, it's all installed correctly, and then the neighbor's dog next door comes over and smelling it because it's got a new smell and bites on it, pulls it away from the wall, and then pees on it, and it starts a fire. Right? Nothing I could control, but I'm still going to get blamed because I'm not an electrician. I
Right.
should not have installed that. Okay,
Now,
I can
now
get in
there
trouble
are
for that.
some guys there are some municipalities that allow like a tradesman's license out there
Right.
that would allow you to do minor electrical repair if you
Still
show,
wouldn't touch it.
but I wouldn't touch it. And there was a townhome neighborhood, and it was about when we started watching it, it was about 15 years old. That year when the GFIs start going out, and I replaced several in there. And I got to thinking, I remember somebody said something to me going, God, that's a lot of liability. And I thought about it,
Absolutely.
and it was. And then, the next year we washed it, I had electrician on hand and guys that we met through referral groups and leads groups. And these electricians and plumbers have actually sent us a lot of business over the years because they're like, hey, we know that this pressure washing company is a great company and you should use them for it. Tradespeople talk. And you tell them, look, it's got to be done today. The person's locked out of their garage because the way this townhouse neighborhood was set up, there was always the one GFI that was on the side wall of the garage, and that actually controlled everything that was in the garage, and that was the GFI that went out. So even though a garage door opener didn't have to be on there, it was, and it was a flaw, of that design.
Yeah, you should have a list of guys that you can call on anytime. A lot of them are going to be happy to build a relationship with you. So even if you end up doing some trade work with them, I'll come wash your house and you do some electrical work for me, and or I will come out to your business and I will do all of the concrete around your business, and you give me credit for if something like this happens. Right? You can build relationships that way. And I'm telling you, it's well worth it to have them on speed dial. They go ahead, they take care of you, you take care of them. It just makes a good thing all the way around.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Tony Creighton, hope you're doing well. The best plastic for wrapping electrical, I think it's really going to be whatever you wind up using. We had several things. I mean, for outlets, we were always, red tape, dug like,
Mhm.
other tapes on there.
Mhm.
A lot of it has to do with how you wrap it versus not what you use.
Well, I get what he's saying though, because like garbage bags and look, when I started out, I used Walmart bags. Dude, I didn't have the money, right?
Mhm.
So, Walmart bags, whatever, to be able to get the job done. But to me, yeah, look, there's so many different options out there from like we were talking about earlier, dog poop bags. I mean, they're the almost the perfect size. Shower caps, they're almost the perfect size. The arm tattoo sleeves, they're perfect. I mean, there's so many different things out there
And
that I see
even like
will
the
work great.
plastic, the roll plastic is great. The
Mhm.
the the plastic, the half mil drop cloths that come in like a 3-pack or an 8-pack, those are fantastic.
Mhm.
Um, the Oh shoot, I like the Saran on a stick. The one with the double rollers. Those are always just great things.
Mhm.
Always good to see you, buddy. Tony Creighton, hope you're doing well. Bonding. Can we discuss bonding? Um,
Yeah,
if we're talking about insurance type bonding, I'm assuming that's it, John.
I thought he was talking about electrical bonding,
Uh,
but you're right. I didn't think about bonding for on the insurance side, but so yeah, basically bonding on the electrical side. If you ever see I'll say a wire, right? A wire going from an electrical item to the ground or to another electrical item or to a piece of pipe. So that's probably the better way to explain it. If you've got a piece of pipe and you see a wire going to that pipe, that's what's called bonding. And what that's trying to do is to get that it will allow for the circuit to complete to trip the breaker, basically. Okay, that's not the right way, but when you walk up to an electrical panel, you'll see a ground rod shoved into the ground, and there's a bonding wire that's going from the panel down to that wire or that rod that's going into the ground to allow that ground to go back to allow the breaker to trip. Basically, that's what is helping for. Again, it's a matter of tripping the breaker, I guess is the best way to say it. The bonding is, let me think of the best way to maybe say it. It's to intentionally allow the electrical connecting exposed items, right, and to carry that electricity to that breaker, tripping that breaker, and preventing an electrical shock, kind of thing, is the best way to say that. If that's what he's referring to as the electrical
well, no,
bonding
actually, down
versus the
there when you
insurance
were on
bonding.
such a great roll, he actually said it was insurance bonding. Um,
Sorry,
But
sue me.
Michael is saying washing the roof and hose got stuck in a spigot. Guy was on the opposite side of the house out and yanked it. Next thing you know, I saw guys are local plumber in your contacts, and that's what you need sometimes. Um, so, but John, what you're talking about with insurance bonding, um, it's
Not required in some areas, required in other areas.
and also a lot of times it's required by the project itself. The ones that
Mhm.
I've had the experience with for bonding is um, it's required a performance bond. I mean, there's different kinds of bonds out there. I know with the state of Florida, if you do a project that is more than $100,000, I've seen with the state of Florida, if they can require you to have a performance bond. So a performance bond means you're going to take a percentage of that $150,000 estimate that you have done for them, a $150,000 bid. This is a performance bond, and you're going to buy an insurance policy for $15,000, 10% of that amount. And that insurance policy, then if you fail to perform on there, that insurance policy kicks in and then hires somebody or pays back as liquidated damages, you failing to do your part of the job. So real quick, if you think about that, so 10% of the job for the cost of the bond is pretty darned expensive on a performance bond out there. So it's be real careful if you ever say, requires a performance bond out there. I mean, we see people say insured and bonded. There are other types of bonds out there that go along with it, but it works similar. But a performance bond, which you see a lot on the commercial side, is exactly what I just said.
So a lot of times when they say insured and bonded, that's what they're talking about. The bonding it's a financial guarantee, basically, that you're going to pay your bill. So if you get a bond and it's, say, a $10,000 bond, that it costs you, let's say, $500 for that $10,000 bond, just making up a figure, right? But what that is saying is that bond is in place, that if you do not pay your bill, let's say you hire an electrician and then you don't pay the electrician can go after your bond. Instead of having to go through court, sue you, all that kind of stuff, he can actually get it through the insurance company by going after and attaching your bond.
Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? You didn't waste it. He needed to hear the electrical part too. So
Right
there you
on.
go. Doug, it is
We aim to please.
man, what an amazing
I know. Usually I gotta be the moderator and say, Ray, we're over our hour, but
yeah, but
sometimes we just flow. It just flows. It's good.
it flew by. I mean, there were just such amazing questions on there tonight, and amazing, interaction and comments. And guys, please go out and share these links out to people.
Please do.
I mean, we want people to see this. If you want to take the plant and property class, it's plantandpropertyprotection.com. We're doing it huge in Nashville.
And you not only get the plant and property protection class, you get the government sales class, and you get the online version of the plant and property class.
Okay. Oh, Merlin's giving up his ticket that he won, so we need to. I hate to hear that. So we will dispose of his ticket.
We will do that.
Yep. Anybody here need Merlin's ticket? Say the word, and we'll get you.
Shoot me an email, Doug@spraywashacademy.com. Doug@spraywashacademy.com.
Like and share this. If you're listening to it on YouTube, hit the little heart. If you're on Facebook, get out here and share it to people. And I'm going to challenge you guys this. You know what? Nothing that we've told you is Jonathan, I think, wants that ticket. So email Doug.
Doug@spraywashacademy.com.
Nothing we've told you is Doug and I will never, ever, ever knowingly tell you false information out here. If you see the guys doing stupid things online, call them out. Whenever you see the guys, showing pictures of look at my Comet roof pump and how
do it respectfully, though, please.
It makes the light flicker. Hey, noticed you didn't do any protection right here. Why haven't you bothered to tape outlets? Why haven't you done this? Guys, y'all are armed with good knowledge here, and I'm sorry, y'all. I will fight you to the ends of this earth if you want to debate on whether it's better to tape or not to tape. If your customers don't care about taping or property protection,
so be it.
The wrong customers.
Yeah. I mean, if they pay the price, great. If they don't want to pay the price, great. It doesn't matter. There is so much work out there, and I know that I'm hearing some people saying, "Well, I'm not getting the work this year," and that kind of thing. It's out there, and it's not only is it out there, it's out there at a higher ticket price than the guy that's not doing it. And we encourage you to take everything that you learn and everything that you do, whether you learned it from us or you learn it from somebody else, right? Take all those special things that you do and use them as another tool in your sales toolbox to sell these jobs, right?
Yeah.
It's important.
And I do. I mean, I hear even good guys saying, "Yeah, we're slowing down. It's not quite the same as it was." Right. And that's okay.
Economy is going tanking.
We do have, we are in a recession right now. I know the politicians don't want to say that and they want to mince words, but what is a recession? And we don't have the money that was flowing like we did in COVID. I'm seeing people's commercial stay just as strong as it's been in quite a while. I'm hearing from people that I talk to, residential's starting to slow down.
Commercial's doing hot.
I
think right now what you're seeing too is a lot of COVID money
that
people received, and they are spending it to clean up their properties and do stuff. It's basically
on commercial. You still have COVID money coming out there. Also, remember too, it's August, guys. I mean, well, it's July, but practically, it's August. It's back to school time. We had heat waves. I noticed in Tallahassee, whenever that heat wave hit at the end of June, that was whenever the calls first started really drying up. And I ask everybody that comes in the door, "Hey, how's business?" Everybody I talk to on the phone, "Hey, how's business?" And a lot of people track it back right to that time that says, "Hey, that heat wave kind of knocked us back a little bit." Then you had, July 4th was on a Monday this year. So people either took a
spread it back a little
weekend, a 7-day week-long holiday. Some people even stretched it out to have an 8-day holiday. They took their vacation before then. And now all of a sudden we're right here at back to school. Down south, school starts a lot earlier, I think, than it does up north. And it is what it is. But you let stuff get normal again, and it'll be right back at it.
Hey, and before we sign off, don't forget the huge convention is coming up here in August. But don't forget, you also have other conventions. You've got the cleaning summit that's going to happen in Cabo San Lucas. I can't remember what the dates are on that. If you need it, send me Doug at spraywashacademy.com. I'll get that for you. And you've also got Power Clean coming up from the PWNA. So there are lots of events and lots of things that you can go to and get educated. And lots of great education out there. Don't forget that. Education to me is super, super important.
It's amazing, A recession is when you go from 20,000 a month to okay. Right now it's summer, people are on vacation, getting ready for school. Next month it'll pick up. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan saying our channel kicks ass. And a private communication. So
there you go. And we do appreciate all the great comments and great people we have on here, and Ryan, but
kind of Ryan. Ryan was bringing the fire tonight.
Yeah, Ryan's always bringing the fire. Come on,
he really is. He really is.
Yeah.
He's goofy as hell, but man, whenever he pulls it out, he's one of those guys you can trust too.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Hey, we're gonna let y'all go. Thank y'all. We appreciate you. Doug, hang around for a minute. Let's talk.
All right.